This is one of the most famous paintings of the 19th century. For 140 years, this image has been studied by historians, art critics, and experts from all over the world. All of them have looked at it over and over again. And yet, in the lower right corner of the canvas, there is a small animal that most people barely notice. A detail that seems purely decorative. But once you understand what it meant to the Parisians of 1886, it could completely change the way you read this painting. This work is called A Sunday Afternoon on the Island of La Grande Jatte. It was painted by the French artist Georges Seurat between 1884 and 1886, when he was just 25 years old, and today it is held at the Art Institute of Chicago. When you see this painting for the first time, it is easy to believe you are looking at a very simple scene. In it, we see a group of Parisians spending a Sunday afternoon on a small island in the middle of the River Seine. Some rest on the grass. Others stroll under the trees or watch the sailboats glide across the water. In total, there are nearly 50 figures, 3 dogs, 8 boats, and 1 monkey. There is no doubt that the atmosphere is peaceful and that the painting is focused on the simple pleasure of a day of rest. But Seurat was possibly the most methodical painter of his entire century, and in this work, absolutely nothing is placed by chance. To begin with, there is the way it was painted. Seurat did not build this scene with normal brushstrokes. He built it with millions of tiny dots of pure colour, placed one next to the other with almost surgical patience. Seen up close, the surface dissolves into an abstract cloud of points. But seen from a distance, those dots blend together inside the eye of the viewer, producing a light more vibrant than anything that could be mixed on a palette. This technique, which would later be known as pointillism, was based on the scientific colour theories of his time, and all of this on a canvas more than 2 meters high and 3 meters wide. Seurat spent 2 years working on this image. Every morning he sketched on the island, and every afternoon he painted in his studio. He produced around 60 preparatory drawings and oil studies, all for a single painting. If we look carefully, the first thing we notice is the light. The entire foreground of the painting is covered by a wide band of shadow, while the center of the island is bathed in sunlight. Our eyes are pushed from the darkness into the light, exactly where Seurat wanted them to go. And in the very center of the canvas stands a little girl dressed in white. She is the brightest point of the composition, and she is the only figure in the painting who looks directly at us. When the work was exhibited for the first time in May 1886, exactly 140 years ago, the public did not know what to make of it. Some critics mocked the figures, comparing them to tin soldiers. Others understood they were witnessing the beginning of something completely new. And now we come to the animal in the corner. In the lower right corner of the canvas, at the feet of the most elegant couple in the scene, there is a small monkey on a leash. We might think it is just an exotic pet, one more picturesque detail that Seurat added to complete the scene. But in the Paris of the 19th century, this animal carried a meaning that viewers of the time understood instantly. In the French slang of that era, the word sangesse, the female of the monkey, was used to refer to a prostitute. And in the tradition of European art, the monkey had been a symbol of lust and vice for centuries. Now look closely at the woman holding the leash. She is the most fashionable figure on the island, impeccably dressed, walking arm in arm with a gentleman in a top hat, the perfect image of respectability. And yet, at the end of a thin leash, she is holding the one animal that pointed directly at everything that respectability was supposed to hide. Read this way, the most elegant couple in the painting becomes something very different. A wealthy man strolling in public, in front of everyone, with his mistress. But there is more. If we move to the opposite side of the canvas, on the far left, we find a woman standing by the water holding a fishing rod. Some historians see a second coded message here. In French, the verb to fish, pêcher, sounds almost identical to the verb to sin, pécher. And at the time, fishing was also a popular euphemism for soliciting men, which would mean that this quiet Sunday scene is framed, on both edges, by two references to the same hidden world. Something that fits with the reputation of the island itself, which, according to several historians, was also known as a place where encounters of a very different kind were arranged. But is this really what Seurat intended? Here is what we know. Among the dozens of preparatory studies that survive today, there are sketches dedicated exclusively to this monkey. Seurat drew it again and again, studying its posture and the curve of its tail before giving it its final place in the composition. And technical studies of the canvas have revealed that he kept adjusting this couple until the very end, even reshaping the woman's silhouette to follow the fashion of 1886. Whatever this monkey means, it was not an accident. It was planned, revised, and perfected. However, not all historians agree with the provocative reading. In the Paris of that era, exotic pets were genuinely fashionable, and wealthy families kept small monkeys as status symbols, the same way one might keep a rare breed of dog. From this perspective, the animal would not be a hidden accusation, but simply one more display of the couple's wealth. And the woman on the left would be exactly what she appears to be, a woman fishing. And there is something else. Seurat never said a single word about the meaning of this painting. He left no explanation, no key, no confession. When the writers of his time praised the hidden poetry of his work, he answered that there was no poetry at all, that he simply applied his method, nothing more. Two completely opposite readings, and both fit perfectly inside the same canvas. Seurat died in 1891 at just 31 years old, only 5 years after finishing this work. Whatever the truth was, he took it with him. And perhaps that is why, 140 years later, we are still standing in front of this island, trying to decide whether we are looking at an innocent Sunday afternoon or at the most elegant satire of the 19th century. I would love for you to leave me in the comments which of these two interpretations seems most accurate to you, and whether you had ever noticed that small monkey before watching this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.